This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I'm Rishika Barua. As India opens up its economy, as people start going back to work, we all have to learn to adjust to a new normal. Going back to work, resuming your lives in a pandemic can be challenging, can be difficult, and riddled with several small and big questions. Over the course of the next half an hour, we'll be joined by medical experts, some of the top minds from the country, to help answer some of those questions. The other big question that we'll be dealing with in this show is, of course, chronic disease management in a pandemic. What happens to people who are suffering from other diseases, and is it safe to go back and get yourself treated? So joining me on the broadcast this afternoon, I have Dr. M.V. Jali. He's a medical director and professor of diabetology at the Dr. Prabhakar Kaur Hospital, KLE University, Belgavi. He's a very well-known and respected diabetes specialist from Belgaum. Appreciate you being with us, Doctor. We also have Dr. R.K. Jaiswal. He's the Director of Cardiology of the Fortis Hospital, Mohali. He's a senior cardiologist joining us from Mohali. Thank you so much, doctors, for taking out the time of day to be with us on NDTV and answer questions. I want to, begin by asking both our doctors, and maybe Dr. Jali, if you'd like to go first. How will the world of chronic disease management change post the pandemic? What are your thoughts?
Look, we had the pandemic shook the entire world all of a sudden, surprisingly. And now we are entering into the post-COVID pandemic. But the disease pattern, the treatment for chronic diseases, as we have to take a lot of care for those things. We still do not know exactly how the COVID is going to affect the other manifestations, the complications of that COVID. We are just concentrating the COVID, as the corona and COVID as spectrum. But when you look at it, the system appears to be the same for the chronic diseases in the post-COVID pandemic period. To tell you about this, when anyone becomes asymptomatic, he must receive the appropriate treatment at appropriate specialists. That would make a better this one. The second thing is that most often we forget about the elderly population or with comorbid condition individuals. They must receive preventive vaccines as flu vaccines or pneumococcal vaccines, and many other preventive aspects may come in future if the vaccines are available for this COVID-2. They should have a better nutritious system. They must have a better lifestyle management. And apart from that, the elderly population, they must take more fluid intake that has to be adequate so that they keep hydrated always. This is important, nutshell to make our post-pandemic period keep our population healthy.
All right, Dr. Jaiswal, if I can pose the same question to you, you're a cardiologist. How do you foresee chronic disease management, especially when it comes to heart conditions in a post-pandemic scenario?
You see, as I look at it as a cardiologist, I would say that the pandemic has just started. And if you look at the figures which have been issued by ICMR, we had almost 0.73% of our population which was exposed to infection till April end. But when this data was extrapolated by experts, it was found that by September, we would have almost 20 crore people who would be exposed to virus. At the same time, as different countries, different regions, they keep going in and out of lockdown. One thing is very clear, that pre-COVID normal is not going to be there. It's hardly a possibility in near future unless we have a vaccine which is affordable, which is available to all, which is safe as well as effective. And that outcome is at least 12 to 18 months away from now, the realistic picture.
Right.
So we have to learn to live with this new normal. And as far as cardiac patients are concerned, I would say the new normal for cardiac patients should be, they should be aware, one, that heart patients, heart failure patients, diabetics, elderly, that's the kind of, patient population we are treating.
Right.
These patients are more prone to COVID, one, and once they get COVID, they have more clinical serious manifestations of this disease, but they can have, COVID can trigger a heart attack, and a post-operated patients, whether it is a post-PCI or he is post-CABG, who is absolutely stable, the moment he acquires this infection,
Right.
is likely to have a fresh heart attack. So they should be very, very vigilant about their symptoms, and the moment they have any doubt, they should immediately go to the hospital, right? That is one thing they should keep in mind. And the
Right.
second thing is, for trivial issues, they should not rush to the hospital, and they should believe and practice more of telemedicine with their doctors.
Right.
So that's the way patients should change their approach.
Right. Dr. Jaiswal, because you raised the question of critical patients and how imperative it is to go to hospitals, I'm sure this is a question that is on a lot of our viewers' minds. Is it necessary that all your hospital staff or clinical staff, for that matter, are tested for the coronavirus? And if yes, what's the kind of test that they will have to undergo and mechanisms, of compliance that are followed at a time like this? Dr. Jaiswal.
See, basically, it's not very practical to be very clear as far as this aspect is concerned. See, practically, it's not possible to do repeated investigation of all the staff members. But yes, in our hospital, we have a COVID screening team which very categorically assesses all the workers as well as the patients. And we have put in a system in place where we are very strict and stringent to prevent the spread of infection.
Right.
And we have very strict SOPs. And the result is, as far as head of Department of Cardiology I am concerned, I have put in a system in place where we have a separate coronary care unit for patients who are probably slightly suspected of COVID and have a serious cardiac illness. And they are not mixed up with the routine CCU patients.
Right.
So we have a 4-bedded CCU for these patients, and we keep them away from the other patients. And we have almost worked normal during these 3 months. And you'll be surprised to know that we didn't have even a single positive patient
Right.
who was treated with the rest of 30 patients in coronary care unit. But yes, the moment anybody comes positive, they are quarantined, all staff is quarantined, and repeated, test is done. As far as antibodies test is concerned, I don't think it's very reliable
Okay.
and practical. But yes, as a screening test, it is a good test where in high little suspicion we do it.
Right.
We do.
All right. I think that's very crucial information, for patients to know. But let me bring in Dr. Jali as well into the conversation. Doctor, what are your views as to when patients should opt for tele or video consultations, or when is the time, when tele and video consultations don't work and they should actually plan a physical visit to a doctor?
Yeah, I just agree about this, especially this. The patients approaching doctor is their right, but provided that for small complaints, they need not have to come to the clinic or hospital and making it overcrowded. And this overcrowding in the hospital settings, that they most often they do not maintain the social distancing and some of the protocols of the hospital, and then chances that they may get infected. So to avoid that, this telemedicine, what is this video consultation, is inappropriate at this point when they have a minimal or just a minor ailments. So in case if they become symptomatic, it is better that they must have a personal visit with their physician, and they must not delay in meeting their consultants and take the best visit. But if they do a telemedicine where we can see the patients and we can able to appreciate certain amount of the conditions in their, when they are presenting the things, and we
Right.
can able to make a better judgment.
All right, very interesting, to note. And also, I think anxiety of patients is very high, especially, at this time, which would
Yeah.
explain a lot of the repeated questions and phone calls. But Dr. Jaiswal, if I can come back to you, the pandemic, of course, triggered by the lockdown in different parts of the country, and some places are still seeing sporadic, lockdowns to contain cases. There's generally a sense of lower activity, more intake of food, and very high mental stress. These are very common phenomena among a lot of people, during the coronavirus. Can you share some tips on how to manage issues like hypertension at these times?
The most important thing is we must realize that we cannot change the entire world, but we can definitely change ourselves in the positive direction. And if I am asked this question, I would say that maintaining a healthy lifestyle at home is most important. You can have a treadmill at home or a cycle at home, and moderate level of exercise inside your home is something which is mandatory. It should not be too strenuous, and you should not be absolutely sedentary. Second, your diet restriction must continue, and I normally tell patients of heart disease that whatever tips we give you for a healthy lifestyle to prevent heart disease, the same tips also apply for improving your immunity also.
Right.
So definitely, you should be looking after your diet, taking sufficient amount of fruits and vegetables, keeping your weight under check, keeping your blood pressure and sugar, daily record of these parameters should be maintained. You must get adequate sleep, and you must have stress management by yoga, by meditation, by listening to devotional music or even classical music. So you should practice a healthy lifestyle. And the most important thing is you should be very strict with your medicines, because I earlier said that corona infection can trigger a heart attack. It causes inflammation in the heart arteries.
Right.
It causes ruptured plaques, and that can trigger a heart attack, that can increase the coagulation probabilities. Yes. And so one may suffer a heart attack. Right? So it is very, very important not to miss any of the medicines and keep an extra amount of medicines as reserve. Okay. The reason is that the moment you are about to finish your medicines, there may be a lockdown and you may not be able to get your medicines.
Right.
So you must have sufficient reserve of medicines.
Well, absolutely. Unprecedented times do call for, unprecedented measures as well. I think that's very important advice, Doctor, that you've shared with our viewers.
Knowledge Partner, USV, your reliable healthcare partner.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 7 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
The bold new Datsun Ready Go. Price starts at rupees 2.83 lakhs. Test drive today.
नमस्कार। कोरोना के खिलाफ इस लड़ाई में सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है लोगों की जान बचाना, और इसमें मुझे आपकी मदद की ज़रूरत है। लोगों को प्लाज्मा मिलने में तकलीफ ना हो, इसके लिए दिल्ली सरकार ने भारत का पहला कोरोना प्लाज्मा बैंक बनाया है। अगर आपको ठीक हुए 14 दिन हो चुके हैं तो आप भी प्लाज्मा डोनेट करके किसी भी कोरोना संक्रमित व्यक्ति की जान बचा सकते हैं। और हाँ, घबराइए नहीं, प्लाज्मा देने में आपको कोई कमज़ोरी नहीं आएगी। किसी की जान बचाने का मौका बहुत कम लोगों को मिलता है। आज आपके पास ये मौका है। मेरी आपसे प्रार्थना है, आगे आएं और प्लाज्मा डोनेट करें।
The Sikh tradition of langar is about ensuring food for the hungry. No matter who you are welcome with open arms at the Guru Ka Langar.
इन्होंने शुक्रगुजार है मालिक का, जो इन्होंने इतना साथ दिए।
लंगर का मैं वाहिगुरु का प्रसाद है,
डेली बांट रहे हैं। इनकी मेहरबानी, भगवान भला करे इनको।
Watch a special show on how the Gurudwaras have fed over 1.5 crore people during the pandemic. Dil Se Seva, feeding millions. Saturday at 11:30 a.m. and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
We have always given you the truth, and the truth is that it's safe to get your newspaper. To get the Times of India, log on to wantmypaper.com.
जरा सी हंसी दुलार जरा सा the taste of India जरा सी अनबन प्यार जरा सा the taste of India यही तो अमूल है स्वाद इंडिया का यही तो अमूल है the taste of India
कोरोना को राजस्थान का जवाब, हम होंगे कामयाब। कोरोना की लड़ाई में सबसे आगे ये घर से निकलते हैं ताकि आप सुरक्षित रहें। 15,000 से ज्यादा डॉक्टर्स, 60,000 से ज्यादा स्वास्थ्य कर्मी, नर्सिंग कर्मी और लैब टेक्नीशियन, 1,10,000 आशा सहयोगिनी और आंगनबाड़ी कार्यकर्ता घर घर जाकर आपकी सेहत का रखते हैं ख्याल। 1 लाख से ज्यादा पुलिसकर्मी आपकी हिफाजत में, 51,000 से ज्यादा सफाई कर्मी और 3 लाख से ज्यादा शिक्षक पढ़ाने के अलावा भी कर रहे हैं कोरोना से जंग में मदद। फर्ज से बढ़कर इंसानियत का जज्बा। राजस्थान के कोरोना योद्धाओं को सलाम। कोरोना को हराने का मुख्यमंत्री अशोक गहलोत का है वादा। कोरोना को राजस्थान का जवाब, हम होंगे कामयाब।
Let me go across to Dr. Jali now. How does the COVID-19 last in asymptomatic patients? Asymptomatic carriers have been, a huge source of concern. What's the difference between a carrier and an asymptomatic patient, and how long does the virus last in an asymptomatic patient? Dr. Jali.
Yeah, this is a very core importance at this moment in this phase of open up lockdown. See, the difference between a carrier and an asymptomatic patient, if you look at it, the COVID-19, the asymptomatic patient is absolutely, without any manifestations of the symptoms of COVID, like coughs, throat pain, or fever, whatever the symptoms they get. It can last as an asymptomatic person for a week or two. This is an average which we have seen in the context of our Indian population. They do not have any manifestations related to the COVID disease.
Right.
But a carrier is the one who does not suffer from a disease. The carrier one who does not suffer from a disease but has the infection. It can transmit the infection, the disease, to others. This is the difference between the carrier and the asymptomatic person. However, a patient who has recovered from a disease, this COVID disease, may carry the organisms without any manifestations, that's one, but can spread the infection to others too. That is two. Remember the story of typhoid Mary, who was not having the symptoms, but she was carrying the infection of typhoid. This is one classical example.
Right.
We can able to correlate to this COVID-19. An asymptomatic person can transmit the virus without developing himself or herself any symptoms. That is the one most concerned issue.
Yes.
So many times these two terms, that is asymptomatic and this carrier, are interchangeably understood.
Right.
So one has to be very careful about moving in a crowded area. We do not know who is an asymptomatic and who is a carrier.
Right.
But taking the guard is the most important thing.
Well, absolutely. You have to keep your guard up, I think, irrespective of whether you know what the history of a patient is, and especially when you're moving out. Dr. Jaiswal, if I can come back to you, you said you said something very interesting last time about, keeping the level of physical activity high even though you're indoors. What is the kind of advice that you'd like to give, patients, especially those who are managing cardiac diseases at home, when outdoor activity is restricted or not recommended? Are there some health tips that you can give patients that they can follow at home?
Yes, definitely the health tips are, moderate level of activity, and moderate is not just a subjective term, it is an objective one. Moderate level of activity means about 300 minutes of moderate level activity, which means, slowly ascending the stairs, which may mean, cycling at moderate speed or moderate level of activity on treadmill.
Right.
So because of the limitation, we cannot go out. So this is the kind of activity we should be doing. Avoid taking alcohol as far as possible. If somebody is used to, then very small amount of alcohol. No smoking, no consumption of tobacco, adequate amount of fruits and vegetables, and good nutritional vitamins to build up your immunity.
Right.
And of course, stress and sleep is other thing. And strictly take your medicines. Every household must have an emergency cardiac kit, which consists of 300 milligram of aspirin, which is dissolvable, 300 milligram of clopidogrel, and 80 milligram of atorvastatin, which is mouth dissolving.
Right.
So if there are any doubtful symptoms, immediately take it. They won't harm you. And in the meantime, you can get an ECG done.
Right.
What we have realized in the last 3 months is that people are coming only with an advanced heart attack, or they are really critically ill once they reach the hospital.
All
So
right,
that
very
kind of
useful
delay should not
advice
be
there for heart patients. But Dr. Jali, people with diabetes have comorbidities like hypertension. Are they at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19?
Yeah, if you look at the prevalence rate of diabetes in Indian population compared to the Western population, it is we have been nicknamed as the capital of diabetes, the world capital of diabetes. So not only this diabetes is the mother of all diseases, say comorbidities like hypertension, the dyslipidemia, that is cholesterol defects, and also the coronary artery diseases. They undergo bypass surgery, diabetic foot. So many comorbid conditions can creep in these people with diabetes. So they're definitely, their immune profile is at a very low profile at this point.
Right.
When there is any, and if not also they don't have a proper regulation of the diabetes, that is a glucose control, that itself gives the immunity level to a lower, this one, that would welcome the risk of getting COVID. That is a very high risk for getting that. And these cases, many cases have been reported in the different parts of the world that these patients have shown comorbid conditions having a malignant course once they get in this.
Right.
Of those conditions, diabetes is one of the important, as I told, that is the mother of all diseases. The patient should take all the precautions which have been guided by the consultant diabetes specialist or the endocrinologist to have the control of diabetes with a proper prescribed food, that is the nutrition part, the exercise which is being advised to that particular level of diabetic people, looking their other conditions and their medications has to be kept intact without disturbing.
Right, so extra precautions really need to be taken by Indians, a lot of them predisposed, yes, to diabetes. Dr. Jaiswal, what are your views with regards to the use of ACE inhibitors in COVID patients?
See, with the start of this pandemic, there was a lot of confusion because this virus attaches to the ACE receptors in the heart, in lungs, everywhere. So it was presumed that probably ACE inhibitors or ARBs would be contraindicated in patients who suffered this, who acquired this infection. But clinical studies and sufficient literature has now proven beyond doubt that these drugs can be safely taken.
Right.
And in fact, if I look at it, the COVID triggers a heart attack by destabilizing the endothelium. And these are the drugs which have definite role in stabilizing the endothelium and in endothelial protection and in preventing an acute heart attack.
Right.
So in fact, they should not be worried. They must take these medicines, ACE inhibitors and ARBs, as they had been taking before the pandemic.
All right, very interesting. I want to, end Dr. Jali by giving you the last words. Can you, shed some light on the use of hydroxychloroquine as a prophylaxis? There's been a lot of debate surrounding the drug, but what's the general, directive, or what's your opinion on the use of hydroxychloroquine as prophylaxis?
Yeah, in the beginning, this hydroxychloroquine started in a manic way everybody started asking for hydrochloroquine for prophylaxis for COVID in the initial beginning of this COVID when it emerged in Indian Indian population. But even there were a lot of other, even United States also were harping on hydrochloroquine as a prophylactic agent. But this hype about hydrochloroquine as prophylactic has no hard proof for that. There is no any solid data on this one, including ICMR suggested only for those who have had the primary contact with the COVID people.
Right.
They can have the as an adjustment, but there is no full proof of having a guaranteed prophylaxis from this. No benefit in the management as such also has been proved. But if this material, this drug was SCQ, was used in malaria, filaria, and
Right.
HIV infection in the past, for no benefit in the management. Even the clinical trials have been stopped in the UK and by WHO. It is of no use, but of course, the ICMR has its own guidelines for Indian population. But as far as the directives are concerned, there is no solid proof for taking this for a general population, except for healthcare providers who have been in contact with the thing. The benefit is just a questionable one.
Doctor, thank you so much for that clarification. There's the debate surrounding the hydroxychloroquine, of course, continues. Several different points of view, several different studies, being conducted on the efficacy of the drug in either managing COVID-19 or being treated as a prophylactic. Well, that's all we have time for on the show. Thank you so much, Dr. Jali and Dr. Jaiswal, for taking the time of day and answering our questions so very patiently. Thank you once again.